Welcome back, guys. We have a Vizier event going on with 111 ancient shards. What an odd number, 111 ancient shards, and you get a guaranteed Vizier. And I know a lot of you out there want to get him to increase your clan boss damage, possibly, or maybe you want to have some help with him on Bommel the Dreadhorn. Vizier, along with Rector Drath and Vogoth and a few others, make a really good team to help you beat the Dreadhorn on the hardest difficulty, which is really challenging. Very challenging to do. So I want to talk about this champion because I know a lot of you are wondering whether you should do this or not. I have two of him, and I got him back in the day. I got him a long time ago, and I was really excited when I did pull him, but the game was totally different back then. It was like a very different game. Veil and Perfect Veil just came out. It just came out. It was supposed to be like this great, amazing thing, and now I think it is. Like, it turned into a much better thing to have in Arena. Going through waves, it's good as well. But Vizier was one of the very first champions to come out, legendary champion with Veil and Perfect Veil. So when we got him and just the ability to extend debuffs like this, we were so excited to obtain this champion. Now when I look at him, though, I feel like this champion, and you know I can be rather critical of champions, but this champion needs a buff. Without a doubt, this guy needs a buff, but since he's so unique, he's like the most extending champion in the game to get those, extend those debuffs that we put up on the enemy, and he does it to just one target, though. And we do have more and more champions that can extend debuffs. They're usually on a 3-turn cooldown on those epics, but they're getting stronger and they're getting better. And the funniest part about this guy is that usually we lock out his A2 and his A3. We don't want to get up the heal reduction. We don't need decrease attack if we're running an unkillable clan boss team, which we're going to show at the end of this video. I've got an unkillable team that I put him on just so you can have an idea of what he's going to do for you. This, though, we don't want all these debuffs. If it's an unkillable team, we want to lock out the A2 and the A3, which we didn't have access to until earlier this year, right, when they came out and let us lock out these skills, which is amazing. I'm so glad we can do that now, and we can put him in Giant Slayer to get the most damage out of him. Giant Slayer procs, we get 3 hits on the A1. We extend all of those debuffs, and we just do 50 rounds, unkillable. And if you don't have an unkillable team, for a non-unkillable, get that decrease attack up. He's going to extend it. He's going to extend any. Now you can use a toxic set. That's what I'm using on the unkillable clan boss that you're going to see at the end of this video. Just a toxic set with him in a Demitha team. That's all we're going to do, and see how much damage we can get out of that. This, though, is, I mean, look at this. A legendary champion, one of the very first ones with Veil. And look at this A2. Let's just start with the A2 and analyze this guy. The A1, we have no complaints. 50% chance to extend all debuffs by 1 turn. This means at the end of the clan boss run, you're going to see 50, 60, a lot of stacks, depending on how fast your team is, how often this guy's attacking. If there's counterattack in there, you're going to see an insane amount of stacks of all those debuffs, up in the 50s. So when the run ends, you're still going to have just turns and turns of debuffs, which could increase your clan boss damage. But we have, you know, Farrakhan the Fat, Fane, all those champions, Draco Venus, all the great ones out there that we could bring with him to make sure all those debuffs stay up so we get max damage. So we got really good champions now. But look at this A2. We attack one enemy 2 times. We have a 75% chance on a 4-turn cooldown to block buffs and decrease attack. And by the way, block buffs and decrease attack is definitely what you want on Bommel the Dreadhorn if you're going to fight him that way. If you didn't watch my Samar solo video or Crimson Helm solo video, these are the hardest of Bommels. You can solo with those. And then we can even solo with some lower Bommel levels with some other champions in the game. We can do it with the rare, right? We did it with, what's his name? Templar. We soloed everything with Templar except for the hardest one out there. So we've got Bommel the Dreadhorn covered. But you could block buffs, because then we take the ability of him putting his increased attack up. He starts with it, but then he tries to apply it again later on and decrease attack. The greatest thing about Vizier on Bommel is he's going to extend all those debuffs, but when he extends, he doesn't take the bomb. Whenever we apply a debuff on Bommel, we get a bomb put on us, which really hurts the team badly, whoever's putting up those debuffs. But when we extend them, he doesn't get that bomb on him. So it makes it really strong to play him there. Outside of Bommel, outside of Clan Boss, I see no play for this champion. Single target, single target. I've used him. I've played him for a very long time. And even if I had nobody else in my roster, I would still use some of my epic champions because there's so many good epic champions to get through the waves, to do AoE damage, to do AoE decrease defense, AoE decrease attack. Even if I think about all the bosses out there, and you help me out on this, all the bosses in the Doom Tower, is there a boss in the Doom Tower where you really feel like this guy can make a huge difference for you? Let me know that, because I can't think of anything. So this right here, 4 turn. If this guy came out today, this legendary champion came out today. Here's the Veil, by the way. We start with Veil, right? We've got a perfect Veil each round. So when you zone into a round, he's in Veil. And don't get me started, this guy is not an arena champion either. Debuff spread we'll talk about. Places perfect Veil on this champion for 3 turns if the target is under 2 or more debuffs. Pretty silly for a legendary. This, for an epic, I can get behind. Even for a rare, I can understand that. If there's all the debuffs up there and then you go into Veil for 3 turns, this is a 4-turn cooldown. Booked. Let's go to the A2. So the A2 on a champion on a legendary coming out would not be hit one person 2 times on a 4-turn cooldown. It has a 75% chance to apply these debuffs. It would 100% be a 100% chance to apply these debuffs on a legendary. This guy just came out so long ago, and I'm scared that his A1 is really good, or really it's not. I mean, we use it. He has limited use, limited value, that you'll use him for quite a long time, and then eventually you'll graduate into something else, I feel like. You're going to get Lydia. You're going to get all these other amazing champions. You're eventually going to get to make it unkillable. If you don't, you have counterattack. You can play with Vizier, or an unkillable with counterattack with Vizier and somebody else in there and extend the buffs. I'm not saying he's bad for you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Vizier is total garbage, but this is it. I mean, this is what he has right here to extend. And eventually I feel like everyone will graduate from this, because this needs to be buffed. And it doesn't need to be buffed to 100% finished. It needs to be a 2-turn cooldown if it's going to be single target, and then 100% chance to apply this. Because we got a lot of legendaries now that are 2-turn cooldowns for cool abilities. And this would not hurt him. We get a 2-turn cooldown at 100%, man. 100% chance to apply this. Don't worry, we're going to get to see Vizier in action at the end, but we're talking about this because I really want you to understand the limitations that Vizier has. This A3, what is it? 4-turn debuff spread. We have so many champions now that can do a debuff spread on a lower cooldown. Epics even, I think so. I'm pretty sure. I'll look up. We'll look it up later. Taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies. Now this is special because it places it on everybody, I think. Not just the other targets. Some epics only do other targets. Some do different debuff spreads. Doesn't she do a debuff spread if there's a hex up? That one girl I just did a video on recently. And then the perfect Veil part, if they're under debuffs, they're probably going to be under debuffs, but still, why does he need that? That's pretty wild. This AoE, like, give me an AoE damage. If you're not going to lower this cooldown, if you're going to make this 100%, which you would make it 100%, at least make this AoE damage or this AoE damage. AoE damage with a spread, it would be kind of maybe weird. Are you spreading everything then? Whatever. You got to do something. This guy is old school. He came out a long time ago when we barely had really good champions out there. Before we had all these amazing epics now that we had. This is when Vizier came out. And yeah, back then when we got him, we didn't have our unkillable teams. Not the cool ones we have nowadays. I did use him on a Draco Morph unkillable. That way when Draco put up all his debuffs, I think I had a 2-man-eater Draco Morph and Martyr team, which you could make a 2-man-eater, 2 slow man-eater, 215, 220 speed man-eaters, along with the counterattack, Skull Crusher, counterattack, Vizier, and then Fane, the Fat Man, whatever you have, Venus, Draco, whatever you got out there to do all the debuffs, and he would still bring in some serious damage. So if you're using him, and if you want to pull those ancient shards just for that, I'm behind you. But as far as anything else in the game goes, this guy just isn't it. He's not that champion that's going to do anything for us. And instead of me trying to make him work into something, like I didn't want to do a video going through dungeons because, I mean, what play do you have in a dungeon? Even going up against a boss in a dungeon, what do we want here? We could apply decreased attack on one of the side minions on Ice Golem, and then if the side minion doesn't die, we could try to then spread it to the boss so the boss doesn't hit us too hard, doesn't work very well. Then he's going to go and attack the side minion first before the boss. We could try to extend some stuff there. It just doesn't work out. He's an attack-based champion, which means he's going to fall over very easily. So if you do play him on a non-unkillable, a normal clan boss team, he's got good defense for that. So we could give him really high defense, good HP, and then he could survive. But he's not going to be doing that amazing damage. Like right now, I've got critical damage gloves, attack, and attack. We're at 171 speed, so I can put him on my Demitha team as my DPSer. We have Eris in there doing the toxic set to put up the poisons. And then all he's doing, you're going to see a decreased defense from my Fusan up there. And then you're going to see all these baby toxics extended to like 50 rounds. And we'll see what kind of damage we can get at the end of that unkillable on Ultra Nightmare. It's pretty funny to see. And then we've got him in Giant Slayer. And he pulls in some damage because anybody hitting 3 times with Giant Slayer is going to pull in good damage on the clan boss. I guess that's it. I don't have a lot else to say about Vizier. I don't know if I went too fast or if I was too crazy about it. I'm a little jacked up. I just had a milkshake from McDonald's with my kids. We were out in the cold weather, so I'm feeling pretty good. I hope I didn't go too fast. If you have any questions, let me know down below. And I hope I wasn't too critical about this champion. No doubt, I feel 100% that this champion needs a buff. Really needs to be buffed, and I hope he is buffed. I wish they would have done that before they came out with this. I would love to see him with an AoE. An AoE, then we could use him as an AoE attacker in Arena and an AoE attacker in Waves, and I could then justify bringing him in some teams, maybe going through Doom Tower Waves or even beating dungeons. I could bring him in there for damage, AoE, then when we get to the boss, we got single target, or maybe they could make it so he's like, what's his name, Ninja, to where he has a move during waves, and when there's a boss present, it does a little bit different. That would be great. I'm just afraid that this is 50% chance to increase on 3 hits, that they don't want to do anything to him. And especially since they just had this deal for him. I don't know. I think they should buff him. Let me know your thoughts down below, everyone. I'm going to play the clip of the Unkillable Clan Boss team. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you all in a video soon.